Hello there, dzień dobry wieczór, z tej strony Tanek 14 KRK. Dzisiaj sobie zagramy Vampyra, tak jest, Vampyra. I co my tutaj robimy? Gdzie my idziemy właściwie? Mieliśmy dla wiedzy, bez jej wiedzy, okej. Uratuj Edgara, właśnie miałem uratować Edgara. Ale coś jeszcze więcej bym zrobił w kierunku... Tych oczywiście trzeba wyleczyć. Tych też trzeba wyleczyć. Wszystkich trzeba wyleczyć. Ta jest nieznana. Tego wyssano. Tego wyssano. Reszta się trzyma elegancko. I tak. Mortimera Goswicka. Przynieś list Mortimerowi. Goswickowi przekaż list matce Mortimera. Tego to jeszcze nie wiem jak zrobić. Puszka Pandory. Znajdź notatnik Ushera. Zaginięcie Emily. Znajdź drugi fragment testamentu ojca. Dobra, spróbujmy. Parę metrów. Gdzieś tam.
Watch yourselves! There's one of them! It's one of them! Stop! Vampyra!
Dobra. Oni się tam bawią, a my sobie idziemy. Kurde. A, to jest Lord z Askalonu jakiś. No. I to tyle. Was wszystkich, cały Askalon wyrżnę pewnie. Gdzie jest? 150 metrów. Na razie, nie chcę się z wami użerać. Po prostu skipujemy sobie rozgrywkę. Tam mamy fabułę, ale my pójdziemy... nie każ, dobra. Nagrywa się... Posłuchałem fanów, moich fanów i w komentarzach było, żebym przyciszył rozgrywkę. Także przyciszyłem rozgrywkę, tak żeby mnie nie zagłuszało, bo wiem, że czasem mnie zagłuszało, ale chciałem też, żeby było wszystko. A to kto to jest?
We meet again, Mr. Kimura.
A kim?
In a more peaceful situation.
Dr. Reed. Still visiting London by night?
We must both be nocturnal animals, you and I. After your captivity, I thought you'd be more cautious.
Breathing the cold night air helps calm my mind, sir. I've had the most frightening nightmares since I escaped that filthy jail.
No nie wiem, czy ja tego...
Do you need medic...
Yeah.
Podamy lekarstwo.
Have you...
Poor man. To die
Czy taki biedny? To nie wiem. Na pewno biedny, bo nie pozwoliłem mu żyć więcej. Opowiedz o
What
porwaniu.
can you tell me about your abduction?
If you really want to know, I was locked in that building for 3 or 4 days. My jailer was insane,
Aha,
mumbling about sacrifice and voices.
bo ja go uratowałem
And why didn't he sacrifice
ostatnio.
you?
That was the weirdest part. He claimed to
Koło
spill blood was not enough.
mojej
It had to be done
rezydencji.
when some stars were aligned.
Which stars?
That's the whole point. He wanted me to talk to him about some Red Queen configuration or constellation. I've
Oh.
never heard of such an astronomical term.
Szkarłatna królowa. Co ciekawe.
What did he say?
He constantly whined about the voice of his master, ordering him to do terrible things. He wanted to silence the voice by offering blood. My blood.
Aha. Bo twoja krew jest jakaś szczególna. No i jest jakoś taka mocna.
How is the situation?
I've heard rumors about armed men.
May I ask you what you do for a living, Mr. Kimura?
Jestem
Was
posiadaczem
a
ziemi.
landlord. A wealthy one. And not a very kind one, I realized recently.
Why this sudden epiphany? Is it because of your near-death experience?
I was already feeling nostalgic about Weymouth, my hometown. With recent events, I'm thinking about going back there.
Nie jesteś taki niemiły jak...
Tell me, Tadao, why was your
Tadao.
abductor so interested in your passion for astronomy?
I don't know. We met a few times at the Royal Greenwich Observatory. He
Królewskim
seemed to share my
obserwatorium.
hobby. Then he invited me to his house and locked me in.
Yes, astronomy is a fascinating subject. When I was a child, my mother bought a small telescope for my sister and I. We spent many a pleasant evening stargazing.
Stars are not just dots in the sky, Doctor. They are the key to our understanding of the cosmos. They remind us how insignificant we are.
You're right. But children love magic and stories. I remember
Magic.
our mother told us constellations have the
Magic.
power to protect
Jak
us.
Protection
Mr.
by the
Bean.
light of the stars. That's sweet.
Jakie to
You remember the
urocze.
name of these constellations?
Gwiazdorozbiór. Konstelacja mojej matki. Pegaza? Gwiazdozbiór smoka, moja konstelacja. Łabędź. Pegaz jest fajny. Łabędź. Mojej siostry. Smoka, moja konstelacja. Łabędź? Pegaza.
Pegasus. It was the constellation my mother liked the most.
Memory's a strange thing. I can recite without hesitation
Dlaczego nie
the
mogę
names of the
wszystkich?
88 constellations. Yet I barely remember my own childhood.
Żeby się do ciebie
Did he
zbliżyć.
fake his interest in astronomy to get close to you?
No. In his madness, he spoke about a blood sacrifice to be made to his master when the stars align to a specific configuration.
Ale to dziwna konfiguracja. Dobra.
Why are you so nostalgic for your hometown, Tadao?
I was focused so much on making money, I almost forgot that my relatives and friends are threatened by this epidemic.
A twoja rodzina?
Have you heard anything from your family?
I was not only a bad landlord, I was also a bad husband.
Ważne, że ty
I've not seen
zrozumiałeś.
my wife and son for years. Busy, busy, busy.
At least
Praca,
now
praca,
you're ready to go back
Praca,
and see them.
praca.
But don't be surprised if your son bears a grudge, sir.
Normalnie
You
ja.
sound like you suffered from an absent father yourself, Dr. Reed. Well, I'll keep your warning in mind.
Tak jest.
Have you no friends at all?
Over the years, I'm afraid my greed turned me into my friend's adversary, while I
Mój
became
wrog.
friends with my professional rivals.
Those you grew up with didn't share your views on money and success.
Would you believe I was once a member of poetry circles and an astronomy club? We were young, such joyful dreamers then. But I stopped laughing long ago.
Okej. O,
Can
mam
you
kolejną
change?
wskazówkę.
And is it what you really want? If so, it must come from within, not without.
I've seen what an altruistic gesture can do. Nothing forced you to save me, Dr. Reed, but you did. I will follow your example in these matters from now on.
Nie wiem, czy weź ze mnie przykład, nie musisz mi dziękować. Nie jestem dobrym Samarytaninem. Dobra.
There is no need to thank me. Rescuing a London citizen should not be out of the ordinary, though I'm afraid it may appear so in these difficult times.
You did not only rescue me, you fought for me. You put your life in danger to save me. That's quite extraordinary.
How will you cope if you're attacked again?
I don't know. I've heard about these men and women who patrol the West End every night, chasing criminals like my abductor. Maybe I should join them.
Goodbye.
No, Kimura,
What it feels like.
a nie Kimura, jak komura. Tu jest, tutaj mam... O. Do inwazji wampirów. Na pewno mu to rozwieje, wszystkie wątpliwości mu rozwieje. Ale na razie pójdziemy sobie do domku. Puk, puk, puk.
Hello? Is anyone there?
Jonathan,
Wenus.
is that you? I did not know you were back in London. Oh, my
Cześć
dear
Wenus, to ja
Johnny.
Mars.
I'm so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I come in?
I was going to bed, actually.
Wpuść mnie.
I'm sure you can spare me a few minutes. For old time's sake.
Of course you may enter, Jonathan. I remember when Mary came here
Witam.
with her husband and...
Dam ci lekarstwo.
How is the old rot?
Probably outside.
Do you need my...
It would have...
Podaj
And I'm happy to
lekarstwo.
give it to you.
Thank you.
Na ból głowy.
Have you any
It's not such a bad thing for rich people to remember that money can't protect them from disease and death.
Bardzo ładnie. Powiedziane.
How have you been since the last time we met? How
We
long
met
has it been?
count.
3 years now?
I've done my duty, like all British women. You
Dobra,
have
nieważne.
no idea what it was like to wait for months without knowing if I'd still be a wife or a widow.
I understand.
Jesteś
Luckily,
Black
this part
Widow.
of town has been saved
Black
from the worst
Widow,
of the bombings. From what I've seen.
Czarna wdowa.
Yes, and it's also true about the epidemic. The
c-
flu has killed here too, of course, but not on such a large scale as in other parts of town.
No.
Have you noticed?
You mean except for your return to town? No.
Przyjmij
and
moje
again, Jonathan, please accept my condolences for your mother
kondolencje.
and your sister.
Matkę i siostrę.
Such a tragedy.
No ja się przyczyniłem się. Dziękuję.
Thank you, Venus. It was so sudden. And I've been so busy, I haven't spoken to anyone about it.
I wish I could have assisted at the funeral, but you know, it's been so quick. And what with the epidemic in the streets?
There's no need to apologize, my dear. It's normal, considering the circumstances.
No, it's not. I am sure that Clarence has not even thought to present you his condolences. He is too busy with his penny dreadful stories.
Why is my return so surprising?
Dobra.
It's more an unexpected happy end than a surprise. You and Clarence, back from the war. You have no idea how hard it's been for me.
Dobra. Jakość krwi.
Venus, why do you worry so much about your family's reputation?
Everyone laughs at Clarence now. And they avoid me because they believe I share his insane opinions. I'm a leper in my own community.
Aha. O kurde.
Tell me about Clarence's obsession with vampires.
It drives me so crazy it makes my stomach hurt. I was so relieved to have him back.
Kiedy
I
wrócił?
quickly realized he'd lost his mind in France.
I understand your irritation, Venus. But you have to accept the trauma Clarence endured on the battlefield.
The question is simple, Jonathan. Is my husband mad? Yes or no? Do vampires exist? Or is Clarence a lunatic?
So you don't believe Clarence?
If poor Mary, bless her soul, had tried to convince you of the existence of bloody vampires, would you have believed her? Seriously?
The important question is, what do you really think of your husband?
I'm tough, Jonathan. He should have told me the horrors he witnessed, however appalling it was. Instead...
Dobra. Dobra. I to tyle mamy.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye. Ale nie wierzysz w wampira? Nie wierzysz w wampira? Patrz teraz. Widzisz? Teraz wierzysz? Ja, dobra.
You
No
know
tak.
that you are always welcome here. But at this hour of night?
Dobra. Tak tylko nastraszyć chciałem, hehe. Ale nie będę cię zabijał. Spokojnie, spokojnie. Nie będę cię wysysał.
I remember when Mary came here with her husband and her son. They were such a beautiful family.
Such a beautiful family. Coś więcej mogę tutaj zdziałać? O, dziękuję za szylingi. Bardzo się przydadzą wszystkie lekarstwa, wszystkie składniki do wytworzenia. Także, no. Hu. Ile mamy tutaj pyszności? Czy mamy tutaj tyle pyszności? Chyba mamy kolejną gazetkę. Pamiętnik. O. Okej. Trzeba będzie przekonać Clarence'a, żeby się dał sobie siana z wampirami.
It's locked.
My to sobie załatwimy. My sobie załatwimy sprawę wampirów. Dobra. I mamy...
No invitation is needed to enter this building. That can't be a good thing.
List miłosny. Mój drogi... Jak... Quest. Nie wiem jak się to czyta. Nie mogę się doczekać. Ledwo mogę wytrzymać, odkąd pocałowaliśmy się na tamtym moście, w jasnym blasku księżyca. Myślę tylko o tym, by znów poczuć twe zęby na mych wargach. Och, ten nieznośny ból, gdy słodko kąsałeś mnie w szyję, ty diable. Przez dłuższą sekundę w życiu myślałem, że mnie zabijesz. Tam na moście w środku nocy, lecz nie, mój drogi Jakubesku. Pozostałeś czułym narzeczonym, którego znam. Nie mogę się doczekać, aż posmakuję twojej krwi. Tym razem naprawdę i wrócę do mojej przyjaciółki, Charlotte, w nowej, nieśmiertelnej postaci. Najpierw rzecz jasna, trochę się z nią zabawię, tego nie nauczyłeś, a potem ją przeistoczę i wszyscy razem będziemy nocami rządzić Londynem. Ha, ha, ha.
Emily wanted to... No sign of a struggle.
Okay.
It seems Charlotte's friend knew the killer and let him in. blood.
Blood.
I should follow the trail.
Mamy wszystko tutaj. Blady. Okej. A co tam mamy? Czy tam coś mamy? Nic. A może wpierw bym porozmawiał? Odblokowano drzwi. To jest ważne. Odblokowano drzwi. Dobrze. Będzie można wrócić. No dobra, idziemy. Migający skał. Dobra. Idzie takie combo, bardzo, bardzo dobre jest takie combo. O. Dobra, widzicie? To jest bardzo dobre combo. No, mogę... Nie ma nic. Nie ma tutaj nic, naprawdę. Zaraz, no zaraz. Najpierw bym poszedł porozmawiać z Charlotką, a później... Co nie? Najpierw by się przydało z Charlotką pogadać, ona gdzieś tutaj... Nieznany, o! Hello there.
Good evening, miss. Can I help you?
Karina Below.
Karina.
Szczury.
Miss, you do...
No,
Can I help you?
the rat.
A, to jest zdrowa.
Have you recently...
He is dead, I've heard.
Dobra, to później się spytamy ciebie. Na razie idę tutaj pomyszkować. O. Tobie damy,
Do you need medicine?
podamy ci lekarstwo.
Tell me what you have discovered about vampires, Clarence.
They've always
Vampires.
been here. And if you search for long enough, you realize others know about these devils too. I'm not alone.
Have you shared your research with anybody else?
No. But I've published my leaflets all across the city, hoping that someday someone will realize I'm printing the truth.
What do you mean you're not alone? Who have you met?
The Guard of Prewin,
Stróże
the
Prywat,
Brotherhood of St.
Bractwo
Paul's
Stóły
Stole,
Świętego
Ichabod
Pawła
Throckmorton.
i Cabot
Those names always pop
Throckmorton.
up when you dig deep enough.
Have you spoken with any of them?
No. With the quarantine, it's almost
Myślę, że
impossible to leave
Throckmortona
West
możemy
End.
się...
But as a
pozbyć.
doctor, maybe you could, Johnny.
Are you asking me to help you prove the existence of vampires, Clarence?
Yes, Johnny. Please, gather all the information
Mogę ci
you can
pokazać
find
zęby.
about vampires and bring it to me. You're the only friend I have left. I need you.
Nowe śledztwo. Jakieś dokumenty?
Have you...
He was aware of many things,
Do you realize you are ruining your family, Clarence? Don't you see the risk here?
Money isn't important. Not important when it is a matter of life and death. That is what my dear Venus cannot understand.
Cannot understand the power of the dark side. Ludzie będą się siebie
People
śmiać.
will laugh at you, if they don't already. Think about your wife and your position. Think about your future.
I understand my wife's embarrassment, but gossips don't kill, vampires do. There'll be no future if people don't open their eyes.
Będziesz
I
potrzebować
can't believe
pieniędzy.
I'm telling you this, but if warning people...
Don't you think I tried?
Okej.
Clarence, why have you distributed
I have to warn everybody about them.
vampires in London? Come on, Clarence. Who's going to believe that?
I'm not mad, Jonathan. You have to believe me. I know they are real.
Pokażę ci zęby
They're all
zaraz.
around us, even as we speak.
Wierzę ci.
Clarence, you've always been a reliable and a good friend.
Wierzę ci, ponieważ ja
If
sam
you
jestem
say you
wampirem.
saw a vampire, then I believe you.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for your trust. You don't know what that means to me.
It's all right. But if you want my help, you have to explain
The first time it was in Rouen. I saw it.
Ciekawe, dobra. Twoje życie, osobiste pytania, atak wampira.
Clarence, tell me about the vampire you saw in France.
I was enjoying my leave.
Był
in
z
Rouen.
bagietką taką i
I left the bar. Took a shortcut back to the barracks.
zamiast
Saw
szabli
it in a back
miał
alley.
bagietkę i wszystkim
An
w
officer
łeb
in a
dawał, a
stained
później
uniform
wysysał im krew.
biting into a soldier's neck.
Byłeś pijany?
But you were drunk, weren't you? Are you
Najpierw
sure these two men were not just kissing?
Please don't insult me, Johnny. I hid.
Dobra,
Did you ever see that officer again?
No.
dobra. A jakie to dokumenty, które...
You need...
Zaraz zobaczymy. Jakie on dokumenty tutaj? Aha. Dobra, dokumenty mu
I won't.
przekażę.
These are the documents you wanted me to look for.
Aha.
I think I've gathered...
Oh, thank you, Johnny.
I'm not sure you can consider this material factual.
First, I'm going to show them to Venus.
Dobra. Moje śledztwo okazało się sukcesem. Ja chyba to wcześniej już zrobiłem. A tylko teraz trzeba było... Właśnie, Charlotte. Mamy coś
Good evening.
nowego
And good.
na temat...
What is your opinion?
I'm sure you did what you had to without him suffering more than he deserved. I'm not sure I'd have been so merciful.
A, czyli nic nie mogę, dobra. Miałem iść, właśnie, miałem iść tutaj, żeby... Żeby właśnie to śledztwo, nie? Poprowadzić dalej. Dobra. Jestem bardzo dobry w orientacji mapowej. No i dobra. No i rozmawiamy.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Co pan
I
tu
could ask
robi?
you the same question.
I'm the Marquis de Bois-Colombes, and I strongly invite you to find your own game, sir.
I intend to do so very soon, thank you. But for the moment, I'd like to shed light on the death of a young woman killed by a vampire.
A young woman killed by a vampire? Oh, you're joking, right? Oh, I do love the British sense of humor.
Co pan tu
What are
robi?
you doing here?
I recently decided to visit London. I've always dreamed of visiting a city on the verge of collapse. Such a delicate yet intense spectacle.
You take pleasure from others' misery.
I have been a totally depraved and immoral creature since the day I was reborn, sir. And probably before.
Aha. Więc ciebie trzeba się
What do you
pozbyć.
plan
W
to
takim
do
razie.
here?
Take pleasure. Take pictures. Enjoy the show. Have fun. Believe me, I won't be the only foreign immortal who bought a ticket to the fair.
Myślisz, że jesteś dowcipny?
And who exactly are you?
I am Jacques-Michel Guillaume Florimond de Marquis de Bois-Colombes, at your
O
service,
kurde.
my dear cousin.
Ale jaja.
You're French, but your English is quite good.
I was born in France,
No,
sir, but
śmieszny
I
ten
consider
Francuz.
myself a traveler of this world. So many countries, so many tantalizing tastes.
Tyle różnych smaków. O.
Dear cousin, are we related?
We could be of the same blood, my dear. I tend to consider all Ekons as family, don't you?
Didn't you? Oh,
I
yeah.
followed the trail of blood from her room to here.
Oh, you're referring to that young woman. Yes, the meeting turned messy.
Skomplikowane.
I'm afraid I ruined my last wedding good.
So you admit you murdered her?
I admit nothing, my good sir. I only regret the blood of that girl staining my clothes. Oh,
Aha.
blood can be so messy.
What happened?
She wanted to become one of us.
No tak.
Not the first time I have received such a proposal, but I must admit her direct approach
Podejście mnie
tempted me.
And then
intrygowało.
what?
The body rejected my blood. It happens, you know, sometimes even with voluntary prey.
Odrzuciło
At
twoją
least
krew. To
her
znaczy, że jesteś...
gurglings brought me some fun
Jesteś,
until the artery burst.
Tak czy siak zasługujesz na
Your
śmierć.
cruelty deserves punishment, sir.
And what else is new?
Kurde, aha! Fajnie, że... Fajnie, że... Dobra. Masz. Najedz się. Kociołku mojego. Tak jest. Dobra. Aha, fajnie. Robi się unik. Dobra, Francuziku. Będziesz miał tutaj zaraz bez liku. Dobra. Ra! O, on też... Kurczę. Ale pojedynek mistrzów, ekonów. Jeden... Anglia, Francja. O kurde. Dlaczego robi się unik? To gówno daje. Dobra. Kurde. Zaraz będę miał... Zaraz będę miał fajną rzecz na siebie. Tak jest. Aha, nic mu to specjalnie nie zrobiło. Dobra. Mam cię. Szylingi. Super. Super rzecz. Dobra. Ale jaki kurczę był mocny. Ten był najmocniejszy z tych wszystkich przeciwników innych, których ostatnio miałem poznać, radę poznać. No dobra. Idziemy w takim razie do Charlotte. Do Charlotki idziemy. Pam 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 pam. Ona to zawsze sterczy.
Good evening, Mrs.
And good evening.
I have found out what happened to your friend.
I can handle the truth. There's no need to hide the bloody details.
Your friend was planning to become a vampire. She thought she'd met an honest one and made a deal with him. Unfortunately, Emily did not survive the process.
My mother told me many times about the risks of being turned. I often suspected she exaggerated the danger to avoid me being tempted.
No, the risk is real. Have you any idea what a body has to endure to become an organism entirely consumed by its need to process and recombine blood?
I should never have talked to Emily about vampires. I never thought she'd actually try it without
Właśnie,
me.
dlatego nie bądź wampirem.
Thank you, sir.
Nie bądź wampirem, nie
Here,
bądź imbecylem.
Take this for your
Także
discretion.
dziękuję bardzo. Mam kołek. Dostałem kołek.
Good.
Jaja. Dzięki za kołek. I ciekawe, mam kołek. No niby jest kołek. No zobaczymy. Zobaczymy jak go bardziej polepszymy. Czy się w ogóle da się go ulepszyć. Pójdziemy do teatru w tym momencie. Także jak pójdziemy, no zaraz się widzimy. Dobra, jesteśmy przed teatrem i są nowi ci wrogowie. Jeszcze... Dobra, biegniemy ich. Dobra, biegniemy go. Tak jest, kołek. Kołek ma tołek. Koziołek ma tołek. Dobra. I nie było większego trudu. Ale tego egzekutora sobie ciachniemy. No. Zespamowany elegancko. Co tutaj się będzie znajdować? Pójdę tędy. Później pójdę tędy i... nic. Kompletnie nic. Także idziemy sobie do miejsca docelowego. Zobaczymy. Nagrywa się, dobra. Dla wiedzy
So
bez jej
Priwen
wiedzy.
never left Doris's theatre after they invaded.
Okej.
They must be holding Edgar here in their new headquarters.
Over there! There's one of them vermin!
Okej. Niam, 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 niam.
That leech is fast!
Kurde. No. I tak to wygląda, proszę państwa, że jestem bardzo mocnym wampirem. Awanturnik. Awanturnik, który się tylko awanturuje. A my sobie pójdziemy. Tak jest. Czy mogę... Aha. Nic nie mogę. Zlutować, świetnie. Niam, 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 niam.
This is despicable.
Dobra, proszę państwa, idziemy na dół. Chyba na dole tutaj mamy awanturnika. Dobra. Macie kociołek. Elegancko. O, tego... Ale mi przygrzmocił. I raz, i raz. Dobra, jemy. Niam, 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 niam. Aha. Świetnie. Czy tutaj mamy jakieś... O, jest tam doktor Swansea. A my tutaj szukamy jakichś innych poszlak. Czy mamy tutaj coś ciekawego?
It's locked.
It's locked, super. Zbadaj. Dobra, zespamowany elegancko do ściany. Chyba inaczej trzeba tam zejść. Inaczej, proszę państwa. Mamy szczurka.
Believe I'm doing this.
Zaraz. Inną stroną? Trzeba jakoś tam wejść, czy jak? Tutaj zaklepali. Tutaj jest, nie da się wejść, super. Więc trzeba jakoś wyżej powędrować. No nie, no. No kurczę, nie wiem jak tam wejść, proszę państwa, mam mieszane uczucia. Na pewno jakoś tam, ale... trochę się pogubiłem w tym wszystkim. Kurde, pogubiłem się tym, no. Wait a minute. Właśnie tutaj. Dobra. Trzeba było popatrzeć troszkę w górę. Kurczę, tutaj. Okej. Ojojoj, coś mi się... Oj, panie doktorku, coś tutaj pan... nawywijał, bo... Ej, no kurde, to są jakieś jaja? To są jakieś jaja tutaj, no. Dajcie mi się momencik zastanowić. Zastanowię się i pójdziemy dalej. Dobra, znalazłem jakąś książkę z pamiętnik. Raport. Znalazłem raport. Makkuluma. O kurczę.
Doris Fletcher was about to become a disaster. I'm getting close to having all the evidence.
Mam jeszcze klucz. Wow. Odkryłem jeszcze klucz. Świetnie. Dobra. Także możemy... Tak, nagrywa się? Nagrywa się. Oj. Proszę państwa, trochę mi się Odblokowano drzwi. I co skrywa się za tymi drzwiami, proszę państwa? Czyżby doktorek, jaśnie pan oświecony, tutaj się znajdował? Warto tutaj zajrzeć w każdą dziurę. Bo nie wiadomo, co się
No
robi.
civilians allowed, sir.
Civilians. Dobra, civilians. Allowed. Ale sobie usiadł. Śmiesznie. Musimy obrabić sobie. O, tutaj co się tutaj znajduje? Mamy tutaj...
It's locked, all right.
Rycerz. Wspomnienia. Ho, 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 ho. 1660... 1660, 60, 60, 60 rok. Dobra.
Blood of a pure heart, garlic, blood of a king. I don't understand. Perhaps this is what McCullum drank. I had better keep that in mind.
Hello there. O.
Edgar,
Edgarze, cóż.
Edgar, can you hear me?
Jonathan, is it really you?
Easy. Easy. Save your strength. I'm getting you out of here.
Ojej.
Don't try to spare me. As a physician, I know all too well when it's too late. Punctured lung, broken ribs, and internal bleeding. An accurate diagnosis, wouldn't you say?
Edgar, what happened?
They wanted me to confess. Beat me black and blue.
Jeffrey McCullum ambushed me at the Pembroke Hospital. He was convinced you and I were responsible for the Skull epidemic.
I never imagined that self-righteous fanatic would dare to attack us in the open. What became of him?
To prove him wrong, I let him go.
Really? Are you sure that was the wisest course of action?
Time will tell.
Czas pokaże.
The most intriguing part of his accusation was that you and I were the pawns of some ancient vampire.
William Marshall. Yes, they tortured me to make me confess the same nonsense.
Coś
I think you're
ukrywasz.
hiding something, Edgar.
What do you mean?
William Marshall, for example. You speak of him as if you know him. How is that?
Jonathan, I cannot say I'm ready for another round of questions.
Why would the Guard of Priwen believe you and I created the vampire epidemic?
Maybe due to our profession? Because I offered you shelter in my hospital.
What can you tell me about William Marshall?
Not much. History paints the story he was the greatest knight
Rycerz.
who ever lived. Amongst the
Rycerz Jedi.
immortals, he had a yet greater legend.
Why is the Guard of Priwen so obsessed with him?
He was the only ancient vampire to escape the first great hunt launched by the Guard of Priwen in 1854. They believe he's an evil creature plotting his return.
Skąd ta reputacja?
Why would he deserve such a reputation?
I cannot say. The Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole has next to no intelligence on him. All I know is that he's supposed to be the oldest of all the British
Najstarszym
vampires.
wampirem. To ciekawe.
While investigating the epidemic, I read some of McCullum's findings. I think you have some explaining to do.
I have nothing to hide, Jonathan. Nothing at all.
Więc tak.
Do you remember when we suspected Sean Hampton of killing Harriet Jones?
Yes. The terrible episode that came as a shock to us all.
Harriet Jones faked her own death. When I found her in the sewers, she confessed she wanted everybody to pay for what happened to her.
That woman was extremely bitter, full of hatred and festering anger.
Do you know Doris Fletcher's real name?
No, I'm afraid not.
Her real name was Doris Jones. She was the daughter of Harriet Jones.
What do you want me to say, Jonathan?
Momencik, muszę sobie zamknąć jedną rzecz. Dobra. Już jesteśmy z powrotem. Tak jest, jesteśmy z powrotem.
Doris Fletcher visited her mother at the Pembroke Hospital. That's how she first got infected.
I know nothing about that. Miss Fletcher once came to visit the sick. That is all I know.
No, Edgar, there is more. Doris Fletcher was Harriet Jones's
córka.
daughter. They exhibited the same symptoms: blind hate and strong physical mutation.
What does this sad story have to do with us?
No to mają coś wspólnego.
Come on, Edgar. Don't you see the pattern here? The epidemic, the link between Doris and Harriet, the suspicion of McCullum?
How could I? I never saw Harriet Jones again after she fled the hospital.
Do you know where we are? Doris Fletcher's theatre. This is where that hateful creature plotted to spread the epidemic across London.
I only briefly met Miss Fletcher
Epidemia
once when
nienawiści
she
i
visited the
wampiryzmu.
Pembroke Hospital.
Tak się to nazywa.
You say it was to see her mother. She seemed like such a sweet and graceful woman.
My point exactly. The disease turned her into a bitter soul, driven by vengeance just like her mother. A symptom of all the infected patients.
Certain diseases are known
is
to
not
produce
the
similar
Jedi
effects.
way.
Rabies, for example. And rabies is not the devil at work.
O, wziąłem szatana.
Doris and Harriet shared more than a hidden family bond. They were the embodiment of the epidemic and are linked to the Pembroke Hospital. Come on, Edgar, this is no coincidence.
I swear I'm at a complete loss. All I did was administer vampire blood to cure old Harriet. There was no evil plan, no diabolical plot.
You did what?
I tested the regenerating and healing properties of vampire blood on Harriet Jones. My only intention was to find the cure for influenza, I swear.
Whose blood did you use? William Marshall's? Mine?
Lady Ashbury's.
O nie.
While transfusing her with human blood, humanely appeasing her hunger, I also kept samples of her blood for my
You
research.
used her blood on Harriet Jones? My God, Edgar, that's unethical. You betrayed 2 of your patients at the same time.
How dare you judge me? Must I name the alarming list of your victims?
We are both deceivers. But at least I know I'm a monster.
You have worked beside me. You saw what I'm doing at Pembroke Hospital. Jonathan, you know I'm not an evil soul. Just another victim of this tragedy.
Dobra.
No, Edgar, you are not going to die. Unless you want to.
What do you mean?
I can save you, Edgar. I can turn your broken body into one like mine.
You truly would? After all I've done, after all that's been said, you would offer me this gift?
I have no way of knowing which punishment would be worse, Edgar. But it is not for me to decide. So?
Oh, please, Jonathan, please. I beg you. This is what I've always wanted. This is what I've always searched for.
Very well then.
Skoro tak, to pij.
Prepare to die and be reborn. To face an eternity of guilt.
I'm ready. Oh, indeed, I am ready.
Pij, pij.
Enough!
Enough, bo za dużo mnie wypijesz. Dobra. Wczytywanie? O nie. Wskazówka nie zadziałała? To co? Jak to? Wskazówka nie zadziałała. Co się stało? Jakaś wskazówka nie zadziałała. Kurde, dobra. Nieważne. Dużo tych wskazówek u mnie nie zadziałało. Ale dobra. Niech już będzie. Niech już tak będzie. Tajniesz zdrowy. Dobra, chyba możemy opuścić to pomieszczenie. A tutaj nie mogę, dobra. Także musiałbym wystać z niego krew, wtedy bym miał fajną rzecz na pewno. Jesteśmy w teatrze, proszę państwa, panie i panowie. Dobra. Na pewno pójdziemy sobie też ewoluować później. Neat. Super. Świetnie. Także myślę, że w tym odcinku to by było na tyle. Tak, to by było chyba na tyle w tym odcinku. I zrobimy sobie w następnym odcinku kolejne jakieś po prostu misje poboczne oraz misję główną. Także dziękuję Państwu za uwagę i do usłyszenia niebawem. Elolo 320.